Hey guys, today I'm sitting down with the great Mike Dawes, a friend of mine, an incredible acoustic guitar player. He's really an orchestra all on one instrument. You'll see what I mean, you'll hear what I mean. Mike just put out his new album, Galactic Acid, which you should go check out. We're gonna talk about all things guitar, gear, musical introspection, and of course, many memes. We are both meme lords after all. I also want to let you know that Guitar Super System, my learning app for guitar players, is on sale right now. Just $5 to sign up. Use the link in the description. Get on that. It's back to school season. Time to get your chops up. And I guarantee you're gonna learn a lot in this video. I learned a lot from Mike myself. So without further ado, let's get into it. Mike Dawes.
Check. Hey, what's up, meme lords?
What's up, you bunch of freaks?
What's up, you bunch of chronic nerds?
Why are you watching another one of these?
Yeah, why did you come back?
You're back for more?
Backstreet for more?
Oh, so you play slow dancing in A minor?
No, this isn't slow dance. This is I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys.
Wait, I thought that was slow dancing. Isn't it the same thing? Yeah.
It's nice to see you again, bro.
Dude, you've had a hell of a trip. Your tour is ended. How do you feel at this moment?
Tired, great, energized. My girlfriend and I just had a nice hang with Molly Tuttle.
Yes.
Hearing about what she's been up to, which is really cool. Just generally soaking up the Nashville vibe. Just did Tommy Emmanuel's guitar camp, which was cool. With John Knowles, Doyle Dykes. Who else was there? Loads of people. It was crazy. Watching all those guys play, all that classic Chet Atkins stuff.
Yeah.
I was kind of the oddball booking, playing like weird Metallica covers and stuff
man.
like that. But it was really good
The
fun.
perfect balance.
Someone's got to be the palate cleanser.
Do you find that you're always the palate cleanser in the musical group?
I'm the girl band in this world of boy bands. This whole room is beautiful. You have the most ridiculously cool taste in aesthetics. I don't know how much you reveal on YouTube of what this room looks like, but it looks expensive.
Well,
beautiful.
if I have as much cool stuff in the frame, then people get tricked into thinking the content's good. But luckily you're in the frame, so it will be good.
There you go.
Yeah, let's go into that.
You know this one, everyone knows this one. Dude, that was so beautiful. What an awesome rig of glory and fingers of glory you have.
We picked up right where we left off.
We did.
I want you to give me 1 minute rundown of your most important stomps and tones, and then we'll get into some more guitar stuff. But there's just a lot of really cool stuff. I want to get that out the gate so people know what's going on the whole time.
Right on. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So I guess not a lot of acoustic players have kind of pedal boards. I guess, especially like we're here in Nashville, where it's got that bluegrass tradition, where it's microphone on.
Yep.
Let's play. And I try to play, but I also like stuff and toys and
as we, yeah.
things, as we all do,
like
and
the
as
toys.
I'm sure your audience does as well, with their clons and their whatnots. But I guess essentially what I try to do with the acoustic is break it down into like different instruments. So there's actually 4 different pickups in the guitar. There's like an acoustic guitar, an electric guitar, a percussion, and a kick drum. And those are the 4 different pickups. So there's a piezo here, there's a magnetic pickup here, there's a microphone which helps pick up some of that kind of external stuff. And then there's another pickup just here, which if I isolate it, little contact pickup on there, which goes out to the front of the house and it gets EQ'd like a kick drum. So I get to route these effects pedals according to what I want the function to be.
Right.
So there's a lot of like electric guitar effects that run from the electric guitar pickup, which is the magnetic. So I can do things like, I don't know, whammy. I mean, these are not new pedals for electric guitar players, but blended in with an acoustic, it's an interesting thing. I got that idea from Petteri Sariola. I don't know if you know Petteri. He's like,
I've met him
you met
many
him,
moons ago. Yeah,
he's the best, man. He's how I discovered these guitars as well. But players like Petteri and like John Gom and people like that really showed me how you could blend like traditional guitar effects with other pickups to maintain the clean acoustic guitar, but then by having an effect underneath. So if I were to like play this, there's still clean, dry acoustic guitar in there from the piezo because it's only being applied to this. Same with like distortion. You still hear the acoustic guitar, right? So that's how it kind of works together. And then everything goes into a mixer, but then this is the magic sauce. The Strymon Timeline is one of my favorite pedals like of all time, honestly. It's just shimmers and is, you know what the Timeline is, man. Yeah, exactly. It's the coolest thing. And the cool thing about this pedal is you can actually like hold the delay and like repeat the swells. So you can like spiral into infinity. And then, I want to feed distortion. You can just do all kinds of fun stuff. So I like to add that extra layer of kind of expression to the guitar. And
so now everybody understands that all that's coming out of Mike's side of the equation.
Yes.
Or there's no like
anything
synths in the back or any of that kind of thing.
Anything that sounds really cool.
It sounds like absolute garbage. Me. How much of this is only for live, and how much do you bring into the studio because you just put out your album?
You mean this old thing?
Which is Galactic Acid, which is the coolest friggin' name ever. And also this art, I don't know, we can get into that as well, but like...
You know what's a fun thing about Galactic Acid? Obviously there's
how it makes you feel?
It is not a legal state, Tyler.
This is beautiful.
Yeah, dude, but there's something funny about this. There was a student at Tommy Emmanuel's guitar camp. I just taught this, and my girlfriend's off camera. She knows what I'm about to say. He's like a biochemist.
Who is?
What? Not Tommy Emmanuel.
Oh, I was like, he's like
Brian May. Exactly. Yeah. No, there was a biochemist at the camp, and he said that he really likes this album. Obviously, there's an obvious lactic acid pun there, but apparently galactose acid is a type of lactose in the body, but galactose acid is what's found in the brain, and they've recently discovered that it's sort of stimulates the brain, and it's colloquially called brain sugar in biochemistry circles. So I now want to call this album Brain Sugar because I just think that's a dope name for an album.
I mean, that might be the next one.
The next one, Brain Sugar, exactly.
Is this what you bring into the studio? Like, is this the creative palette that you choose, or do you get more creative, less? Like, how does it go? Is this like always what your setup is?
There's only one pedal which I use in the studio. This is just live fun.
Gotcha.
And I have to always tell that to people when we do like lessons and the music courses and all of that is everything's the fingers. All the stuff's written with the fingers, maybe with a bit of reverb at home for fun on the Tonewood amp or an amp or something like that. Yeah. But there's one pedal that I track with because you have to track with it, and that's the Boss OC3 Super Octave. It's actually under the hood. I have pedals underneath this board that you can't see, and one of them is the Boss Super Octave. And the reason for that is it has a polyphonic mode where you can add just a low. In fact, I can isolate it for you here. You can just have an octave sound on the low string, but it's not on the high strings, right?
Oh,
so when you're like self-accompanying, I've turned everything else off except the octave, so you can hear that when everything else comes back in. There's a bass player.
Yeah, you just built in a bass.
Exactly, because it has a really cool polyphonic function, and I compress it a little bit on the mixer just to kind of make it a little bit kind of neater and less dynamic. So I track with that because it's just the easiest way to get it in your mix. And then when we're mixing, we can just kind of like raise it up or bring it down or something like that.
Yeah.
Depending on what the need is. So that's the only thing that's recorded in the studio. Everything else is just guitar. This is just fun toys for geeky hangs like this.
Cool, man. What was your favorite track to record on your album? I know there's covers and originals.
Yeah,
so I was wondering if there's...
man, the favorite stuff to record is the easiest stuff.
Oh yes, beautiful.
The only song that was one take is "Be My Mistake," which is like a 1975 cover. It's got that. It's just got that kind of. I want to be in a castle with a cup of tea, hit record, play that song, and leave, and have the engineer mix it and make the most out of that moment. And the first time I recorded that song, I actually did it as a duo with Tommy Emmanuel. I did a record with Tommy. It's called Accomplice Volume 3, and it's one of his kind of Accomplice series. And we did a record in Los Angeles. It was going to be a 5-track EP. We recorded 4 tracks, and it was my first experience in the studio with like a legend like Tommy, where everything's like one take, like you got to be on it.
Exactly.
But we needed one extra track. We needed a 5th track, and I just said, "Oh, I have this like arrangement of this 1975 tune," and I played it for him once. So it's the only song on the record where we tracked individually. I recorded it like that, and he just listened to it, like recorded it on his phone what I was playing. Then went to get coffee, came back, and then sat down and goes, "I think I got it." And just played, and that was the one take. And then, so that's the Accomplice Volume 3 version, which is the duo, but then the solo version I've put on the record, and that was just such a joy to record. It's all fun to record, man. It's just some songs are so technically frustrating,
right,
that getting through the finish line is more rewarding than the recording process, honestly. Especially when you're always trying to up it and outdo yourself, outdo what you've done before on a technical level and a compositional level and a musical level, and there's a lot of anxiety there. But
yeah, why do we do that? Why do we always have to outdo ourselves? What's wrong with us?
Well, because we want to progress.
Do we strive?
We want to have a legacy of a body of work that we're proud of, and it's like, I'm sure the fastest sprinters in the world are still trying to get faster.
Yeah.
It's not like we're trying to do it to compete or anything like that. It's just about personal growth. I just want to be better at what I do tomorrow than I am today, etc., etc. But the main focus on the record wasn't the technical stuff; it was the songwriting. Like I really tried to really up the level of songwriting on it. I know it's instrumental, but it was the first record I've done where I was using open tunings and experimentation to figure out chord progressions, but I was writing the melodies on a keyboard or singing. So I wasn't writing the melodies on the guitar.
I've been doing something similar where I've always just started from a place of drums or recording guitar, and I've only been writing music with acoustic guitar and vocals, but the purpose is for it to translate to a rock band.
Exactly.
So it's like, if this can hold up in this way, I guess it's like, a typical songwriter approach, but I'm not a singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
I'm much more like...
Yeah, you don't want anyone to hear you sing when you're writing it. Not at all. No.
Until I can figure out where my range is, but that's such a really interesting process to hear how it goes with you, because you do have a lot of technical ability, and sometimes that can be anxiety-inducing in itself, because you're like, am I really pushing myself to where I like the best possible potential?
Right.
Do you have like a little voice in your head that's just like,
There's 2 things that I've learned over the years pertaining to that. So first of all, I realized that when I was writing, especially in open tunings and experimenting around, and I'd find a chord progression that I really like, I would be playing melodies based on just where my fingers happen to be. I really like the sound of this chord, so I'm going to just make sure that whatever the melody is in this box.
Yeah.
If I'm fretting here. And that's insanely limiting. Because what if the best melody isn't these 4 or 5 notes that I can reach,
Yeah.
And this is a big difference with the extended technique stuff that people see, the percussion flying around the body, the tapping. When I'm working with like students as well, those things are supposed to be a means to a musical end, to quote Michael Hedges and Eric Roche and people like that. If you're writing your melody away from this box shape, you're more likely to come up with a melody that's just better, because you're not limiting yourself at all. And then you can use those techniques to play the good melody, You know, oh, if the better melody is taking my pinky further than I can stretch it, but that's the note that works for the song, I can use a harmonic or something or some extended technique to do that.
Right.
And then it will always come across as musical, and it will come across like it serves the song. Like all this stuff's supposed to serve the song. And when I started, I was very much like trying to shove everything in the kitchen sink in there.
Yeah.
And now it's more about like what is the best song, and then how can we play it on an instrument.
That's so important, because I feel like a lot of guitar players trying to find their voice will end up practicing technique over what we were just discussing, more the substance and technique to a musical end. It's like you use it when it's called upon, and I don't know if you have to like be in that non-musical mode of just practicing your arpeggios and just like I can do this in order to get to that mindset, or if it's like a just experience level or what.
Well, it's interesting from the electric guitar point of view, which is usually part of a wider unit. You know what I mean? So typically on electric guitar, you're playing to a backing track of some kind, whether it's something you wrote or something you found on YouTube or whatever it is that you're using to get inspiration. But with a solo instrument where we use, you know, the polyphonic part of our limb, which is multiple things, multiple digits instead of just a guitar pick. There's a lot of decisions there that need to kind of be made simultaneously. If I've come up with a melody and a chord progression and whatever it is that I really like, but it is quite challenging to play, I'll spend a day practicing it, and I'm kind of writing it as I'm practicing it, and I will have worked so hard at it that when it's done, the temptation to use it, regardless of if it's any good or not, is really high.
Yeah.
So what I've started doing is, if I come up with an idea, I'll write it out in Guitar Pro as it will be before I've been able to physically play it, and just listen to it through MIDI, and then think, is this actually good?
Yeah.
And if it is not, then scrap it, and you haven't wasted your whole day. You know what I mean? And if it does sound good, then commit to learning it, and then it's part of the song. Because, you know, I'm like a lot of guitar players. I'm quite a lazy person, actually.
Yeah.
You know, I work very hard, but I'm very lazy when I need to be. If I spend a whole day working on something, the prospect of having to start all over again is a lot, and I'm trying to fight that temptation more and trying to make sure that everything is as optimized as possible. Same with alternate tunings. Like I'll start with a weird tuning, and sometimes I'll get halfway through a song and realize, you know what, I need to change this string. So I'll have to change to a different note, then go back to the beginning and relearn everything up to that point. Compositionally, and with the technique as well, we can look at that in terms of like a section and doing lots of variation of it. So I have a song on the new record. The first track is called Cloudcatcher.
I like
and it's
that
like
one a lot.
When I got the mix of that, we sat here and we listened to that mix. That was that song.
Oh man, I knew I recognized that name.
Yeah,
did you
exactly.
have that name at the time?
I think
or not?
I did. Yeah.
Because I remember that name, and I was like, oh shit.
That was like a mix and not a master. Yeah. But it's the one that's like starts like, and it grabs people with that chord, especially if you have a big reverb on there, which I'm sure you'll add in later. Right? Boom. Exactly. There you go, a little meme explosion. Oh. Yeah, exactly. I was working with this tuning, which is just so beautiful. It's Dadgad, but with a low C and G, so it's C G D G A D. And you know, typically when I'm starting writing, I'll start with like trying to figure out what the chords are, even if that's just the roots, whatever that may be, and then I think it was. I just thought it had a nice kind of feel. I can't remember exactly the shapes I was using when I did it, but regardless, once
those
that came in,
chords are nice.
They're super nice, yeah. It's a really nice tuning for all those kind of nines and extensions. But getting the melody in would be the second point, and that's the melody that was sung. So I just recorded these chords, you know, like on my phone or something, and then I came up with. Do 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 do, you know, nice little melody over the top. But in terms of the technical thing which you were asking about, it starts with the bass notes, then the melody, then I'm filling in the chords and arpeggios, the little licks, the little counterpoint. Little chromaticism. and it comes across as like, yeah, it comes across as a nice melody over a nice progression, but all the extra percussion and stuff, that always comes at the very end. Because the melody and that stuff has to be solid first, but once you really bring those chords in and you filled out the chords, you can really wail on it and have so much fun with it, you know? Other extended techniques can come in as variations, like harmonics, playing the same melody. It's the same tune, just like different variations and things, key changes and stuff like that, you know.
That's kind of going back to what I was talking about with just acoustic and vocals. Like, you find every different way you can play this melody in this song, and if it stands up, it's like, yeah, I should work on this more.
Exactly. That's the thing. If the melody's strong, that you can come up with all these different variations, key changes, like high tempo stuff, big strummy stuff, delicate big stuff, you know. You can go, or, you know what I mean, like harmonic versions, things like that. But getting all those layers in, it's usually bass first, then melody, then filling out the chords, then percussion, then variations. As I'm in this tuning, I mean, there's a Sleep Token song which I've been kind of just playing around with a lot of those extensions in the context of this Sleep Token song, which I really like. There's something about those voicings that is just really resonating with me right now, honestly. This Sleep Token song that I've been playing live is the first new thing I've done since the album was released.
Is it those chords?
Yeah, it is, but it's actually, do you have a capo? You have a capo?
Capo? Is it capo or capo?
I got one in that guitar case. I just also realized I left my cool capo in
Dude, I got a really cool one here.
That capo with the logo and stuff on? Oh, sick. Music.
That's like one of the first free things that I ever got for YouTube.
How does this?
Oh, flip it around. And
it's
then,
pretty...
yeah, go like this.
Oh, that's cool. Wow, it's like a reverse G7. Okay.
E flat.
Yes. And that lovely guitar-friendly key.
We got some more.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful, man.
Do you have a practice routine? Or is it all through songwriting? Or like, are you disciplined? Like, I got to sit down and work on this exact exercise that doesn't yield things?
Do you?
Do I?
Because I'm really curious in what you do as someone who kind of makes guitar content, but like you have to be so on it all the time for just like jumping in the deep end and like playing with people of all different styles all over the place. Like,
yeah.
I saw the thing you were doing with Victor Wooten. This keeps popping up on my feed.
Yeah, that one's had a resurgence. I basically, my practice routine, I practice like the Berklee syllabus.
Okay.
That's like a mainstay.
Tried and tested.
Yeah, and then all the other practice is born from what I'm working on. So if I'm learning, you know, what have you, a metal riff, for example, that's really difficult, that turns in, I find exercises out of that song or that riff that I can translate to my own. Because the ultimate goal is, I don't really love, just like you, I don't cover things verbatim. I tend to make things a little bit my own. I think it comes out better that way. But I also like to pay homage to like certain techniques. For example, learning the Cliffs of Dover hybrid picking intro thing. But then if we're playing like obviously an Eric Johnson, this is an over-exaggeration, but I'll find a place to use these things in my own improvising, for example. I tend to learn things over tracks or drum tracks in particular, just to
that's
keep
a really
myself honest.
interesting point, like drum tracks. So I mean, with the amount that I'm doing tours and doing shows, especially like recently, and with the new album as well, I'm going to be out doing some headline tours and stuff. I just finished one in the South, but I'm going to do the East Coast next, I think, like maybe in like February or something like that. A lot of the practice is for the shows, because if I'm doing like 90 minutes, 2 hours, or like an evening with show, there's a lot of tunes to remember, and it's not all easy, you know. There's a lot of like nuances and licks, a lot of stuff to just kind of keep in the fingers and keep fresh. Old songs, new songs. Just come. Some stuff I've been playing for so long, it just kind of like stays in there. But the new songs, they're like of this kind of extra layer of technical complexity because they're just not tried and tested. Tommy Emmanuel was just saying at the guitar camp in one of his classes that there was one song he does which it took him a year to practice before he dared play it live.
Wow.
And I completely relate to that with Cloudcatcher, actually, the first track on the record. It's got a key change where I have to just like slap the capo on from nowhere. And each time I've played it on tour, it's just like, this could go so out of tune, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I'm trying to figure out different nuances of how where to put the capo, and does a millimeter this way make a difference to how stable, like how soon before the show should I change the strings to optimize how settled they are in, and where should the action be, like how many fractions of a millimeter should the strings be to do a whole show, when some material requires the strings to be quite far away from the frets to get these artificial harmonics, but then some material requires it to be really close and a low action to get the fast shreddy stuff. So I'm trying to find the optimal balance there. That's kind of where the practice is now. It's just like, how can I optimize the show? And it's not necessarily practicing licks or improvising or learning scales or practicing arpeggios. It's practicing the material but refining it to such a ridiculous extent that it's easy to do in the context of a whole concert on one guitar. Like, okay, how do I sit? If I'm doing a section where there's really complex harmonics, is it easier on a chair or is it easier on a stool? You know, do I do this song standing up or sitting down? Like, I was just playing around just then with a bit of percussion, but live it's much easier because this part of the guitar's open, so I can hit here. This comes across better than this with the internal microphone because the microphone's kind of more over here. Like, stupid
so
detail.
Many nuances.
Stupid. That's kind of where the practice is. It's just like making the show as stress-free as possible because it is a very stressful thing.
Do you enjoy that preparation?
Yeah.
I think that's really like...
It's the nerdy...
I think that's the peak of finding your voice on the instrument, is getting into those details that otherwise you can't teach someone to practice that thing, but
you have to
it's
love
helping yourself reveal what it is you're doing.
You have to absolutely love it. You have to be so invested in what you're doing and trying to perfect like the total individual things. Somebody that I used to know, that whole thing, I mean, the level of detail, it's like, okay, this first chord, I've got these notes for the chord, that is the melody, that is the bass note, that is the kick drum, okay? However, that melody note is staccato, so I've had to put a finger on the B string to stop that while the chord still rings, the bass note still rings, and the kick drums happened. But then, do I plant my finger here, or do I just lift off this finger? Well, actually, it's better to plant the finger, because this can sound cleaner than this, because you get a zing.
Yeah.
It's like that level of...
A zing.
A zing.
I know what that zing is, and I've never named it. I've always just heard a dead note, but zing is way better.
You know what I mean?
Zing.
But here, there's no zing.
Yeah.
You know, do I... With tapping, here's a really good thing. So anyone that's done any tapping on the acoustic guitar before, you will know that when you're using condenser mics or any kind of microphone, you tap, but you hear the note behind the note. In fact, let me unplug. You hear that horrible thing because you're hearing that as well as the note you want. So that means that every time I tap, live it doesn't really matter because live the pickups are here, so they're hearing that. But when you're in the studio, it's revealing that. So, okay, so now my tapping licks have to have something fretting down here, so that when I tap, I'm not going to have that horrible harmonic ringing. So I make sure that when I'm tapping, I'm treating it like you know when you do a hammer-on after another hammer-on? You do that. You don't go like that. So I'm treating all my tapping like that. I have to have something, either a mute or a fretted note, behind the tap note.
Yeah, you're building little bridges to each
Exactly,
lick.
because live it doesn't really matter, but when you're in the studio or you're playing unplugged, it sounds horrible. And I never knew that until my mum walked in on me practicing one time when I was younger, and she says, "Are you playing the right note?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she was tuned into, that, but my ear was tuned into that. And when I was playing it, so that blew my mind, So
Yeah, man.
stupid levels of detail like that.
Moms know.
Moms know. Moms always
They know if you suck.
They always,
They'll never tell you, but
they'll sometimes tell you.
Maybe they will. If they're,
Exactly.
it depends on your mama. Oh, there I go. You still sound exactly like Mike Dawes, which is an awesome thing, especially as an acoustic guitar player. Like,
Oh, thanks, man.
I think
that's a huge compliment, actually. I was talking to a student at the guitar camp the other day about that. That's, I think, the biggest compliment is when someone says that if they hear something, they know it's you.
I know it's you instantly, not just because of the ricochet stuff. I can hear your fingers and like the percussion and stuff too.
Oh, thanks.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's a nice mix of all these different kind of, modern fingerstyle memes at this point. I mean, this thing alone, this is called a scratch pad.
Scratch
and
pad?
It was invented by, it was invented by a tree. It's a piece of wood.
Right.
Those
trees are smart.
Let's not get into the weeds on that. But
No.
this was invented by Nick Benjamin, the guitar maker, or Eric Roche, as a subject to debate there, the late, great, amazing fingerstyle guitar player from my neck of the woods. But as something to put over a damaged area of the guitar.
Right.
So to stop him from Tommy Emmanueling or Willie Nelsoning the guitar like this.
Yeah.
And it became a thing that's now been used, and you can do such cool things with it. You can get these kind of really cool little effects and fills. Thomas Lieb is amazing at that. He has some amazing tunes doing all this kind of scratchy stuff. But then there's the idea that the percussion is only there to amplify the song. So it's not like you have the song and then a bit of percussion and then a song and then a bit of percussion. It's simultaneous, like tracks on a Logic session or voices on a guitar profile. It's not like I'm playing the bass note and then doing a little knock. It's no. I have to come up with these ideas to kind of play both at the same time. I rev the motorbike to get the kick drum, but my thumb can also play a note at the same time, not separately. And you amplify that level of nerdery to saying, okay, well, I can try and get a kick drum and a hi-hat at the same time.
Yeah.
And then maybe a snare. Okay, that's pretty basic. Maybe start playing around with drum grooves like you would online. And you start adding in some other hands, you start making it a bit bigger. You start opening up this hand to play some, Start fooling around with it over time to just kind of do all these little things to back up the music. It's not supposed to kind of like fill in the gaps. It's not supposed to be chord blah, 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 chord blah, 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 you know what I mean? It's supposed to be there to support it.
Serving the music, all coming full circle. Told you I've been working on my singing.
I was really trying. I did a version of All Along the Watchtower based on the Michael Hedges version.
Okay.
He did, so I kind of like stole his tuning. It's kind of a tribute. And it was really cool because, well, the Michael Hedges version, he's kind of strumming this really cool tuning. Do you mess around with like weird tunings?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this one's like, it's D-A on the bottom, which sounds pretty palatable, you know. You got your root and your fifth, but then it's E-E-A-A.
Oh.
So it kind of makes no sense tension-wise, like having the G string down to E and then the top string all the way down to A. Like,
yeah, that's
slinky. Rattly.
Whoa!
It's super slinky.
This man just spent a step and a half on an acoustic.
Yeah, exactly, and it felt great. It didn't even feel tough. But the cool thing about it is it ends up sounding like a 12 string. Because you get these kind of sympathetic strings. It's kind of like a self-chorusing kind of... Oh, Father. Father came to church. It's ripping and tearing.
There we are.
Straight up ripping and tearing.
Hell yeah, dude.
Some shit happened.
Pull some nugs.
Some cool shit in there.